Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 106. We're about 5 weeks away from the launch of F1 Manager 23, and they're releasing more and more regarding what's coming out. And while there's some big things that people wanted, and rightfully are, disappointed that those particular big things aren't necessarily in the game, there's backlash, and I've actually seen it all the way from the pre-launch through now. People going, okay, that rival, that MM initials game, we're 106 episodes in, it don't matter. Motorsport Manager, right, offered certain things. This offered different things. People who wanted it to be exactly like that, only better, were disappointed that it wasn't exactly that. They made their own game. And then, oh no, it left this piece out, and oh no, it left that piece out. Well, they had a 3-year license from the get-go. It was always going to be a multiple edition game. Always. Which meant you can't release everything in the first edition, otherwise nobody's going to buy the second or third edition. You have to leave them wanting more, which means you have to leave some of those big elements out and then add them in year after year. I would have liked one of those big elements that were lacking coming for F1 Manager 23. It would have been nice if we had the custom team. It would have been nice if we had you can manage your team down in F3 and you can move up and switch teams. I am overall encouraged by the progress that the game is making, and it looks really nice, and I'm getting more and more excited by the upcoming release. Speaking of upcoming release, we're down to 5 weeks. I want to get our second season in here, or our final season in here, sooner rather than later. So we're going to do another double race to wrap up the current season so that we can see the new regulations. Oh yeah, I'm excited for that part. We are getting close to running out of money though. Right now, we have just under 22 million left in the cost cap. However, our projected expenses from here till the end of the season and till the end of December actually brings us down to a projection of 8.7 million. And I'm rapidly pumping out research projects for next season, so that's gonna bite into that quite a bit. So it is getting tight, but it's almost November, just the 2 months. I think we're gonna be okay. I'm not gonna have to worry about catering costs. Now, of course, we've already previously wrapped up the Constructors' Championship. In the Drivers, Max Verstappen is also well out of it. We will win the Drivers' Championship. However, Doohan still has a legitimate shot to get in. And remember, it is double points in that final race. So a lot could happen. And Doohan is on quite the win streak here. 9 wins for Porsche, 6 for Doohan, and it's, 3 in a row, 4 in a row? Speaking of research projects and more to come, front wing research is complete, and I have a new period here. So I do have stuff to spend again. This is the last time, though. This is the last period we have. So the final hours that we are going to be able to put into the car. For all I know, this is going to be our final underfloor upgrade that we're able to get in. It, of course, is making significant gains. I mean, we're talking about 6% drag reduction improvement. But in terms of recovery to what we lost, you can see at just shy of 17% of a 39% drop. That's still substantial. That's not even halfway. So we are getting a little more on that, yay, you're getting there stage. But that's not quite 40% of what we're losing, which of course was just the 50%. It's even more on the front wing. So there's going to be a lot of ground left for us. A lot of ground. How are the other teams going to be? How significant are their losses going to be? How much recovery are they able to make? I have this sneaky feeling that we're going to be way ahead. That right now, the entire field, all 10 cars, have all kind of reached that same point of it's hard to make gains right now. I have this sneaky feeling that next season gains are going to be rapid. but the field's going to be spread. And the sneaky feeling being that we're going to be way ahead. We'll see if that's the case, though. Maybe not. I couldn't even get as much out of this upgrade as I want, as we are pushing all the way till the 31st of December after backing off on 3 categories. iPod research done. We'll get on that next front wing upgrade. Obviously, the underfloor is on to the final one. And this is definitely the final front wing upgrade of the year, as well as we're pushing 30th of December to get this one done. By the way, these 2 upgrades combined are over 2 million of that 8 million left that we really had to spend. So we are kind of hitting the limit of this calendar year. We're getting awfully close to it anyway. For the front wing, we're now pushing towards 0.46 out of a 1.06 deficit. Not quite 50% of what is lost. And gosh, it's over 40. It is over 40. So we have made up a little more ground on the front wing than we did on the underfloor, but that seems to be about where we're at. We're at about 40% recovery on the key components. Rear wing research also done, so we've got room for our next upgrade. I've only done a single chassis research project so far. This will make it 2, and we've barely scratched the surface. We're talking about 20% recovery is all in this area. So with key components, we've gotten 40%. The more minor components, we're only getting 20% recovery, and they were already on the weaker side, which means that sneaky feeling about dominating may not be so, at least not across the board. And where we might be similar in chassis to everybody else, but at the same time, how many of them are doing how many research projects? We've seen a number of cars continue to develop right up till the end of the season and get better and stronger and more competitive here and now. But at what cost? How much have they been able to research? Theoretically, if they're putting everything into this year's car, they're only getting 1 to 2 research upgrades for next year's car as we go to enter next season, which means, well, we're on upgrade number 2 for chassis. That 20% might be average, might be standard compared to everybody else. So our chassis might be right there in the mix, where our underfloor and our front wing and our rear wing are going to dominate. Side pods, chassis, suspension might just be average at the start of the season. But even then, that's not a bad place to be, is it? Last year, Sao Paulo did not go well for us. Brazil, we were only 8th place with Porsche and 15th with Duin. Mistakes were made.
The carnival atmosphere has already started here in Sao Paulo as Brazil welcomes the Formula One Grand Prix. The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache has been a staple of the racing calendar for decades, and soon we'll once again be watching the best drivers in the world give it their all. The drivers there lined up on the grid under mostly sunny skies. Looking now at the Williams. They're in the front half of the pack, so there's plenty of potential for them. And looking at the second Williams car. They're in the back half of the pack, so they'll need to work hard if they want a podium finish. Will their hard work pay off today? Who will win? Only time will tell, here at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. It's lights out, and away we go.
Straight to the race. Really poor qualifying from the AI in this one. Neither driver doing well. Porsche getting a boost because of drivers taking penalties still on the penultimate race. So he bumps from P10 to P7. Or Duin qualified, I think, 14th and moved up 2 spots to P12. So terrible qualifying. Are we really that far off pace? I think 1 lap? Yeah, probably we are. I wouldn't be surprised if we are at this point of the season because of how close the field was bunched up. But here's the thing. They might be slightly faster than us now. That slightly faster is going to translate as we challenge Leclerc for P6 here. And we might still get him if we hold the inside here. Doohan also struggling in an overtake, and we back out of it, so no, that overtake's not happening. But we try again up the outside now as we're going to head down the main straight, finishing the first lap, and Pourchaire after this, heading into turn 1, I really need to have him settle down. There you go, he completes the overtake, and let's settle in. Meanwhile, back with Doohan, we are now challenging a Red Bull who's also struggling. That's Russell. Is he one of the ones taking penalties? I don't know. Verstappen is leading the race, though, at the moment. Magnussen, Gasly, Zhou, Alfa Romeo clearly have really committed a lot at the end of this season to be more competitive and raise their position. Doohan still unable to finish off the move with Russell. And he finally does settle in ahead. Speaking of, let's settle into our position and let's go fast. For my two drivers, we're looking at a sure two-stopper. There is no one-stop strategy here. The tires do not last. Norris has lost DRS range. Doohan behind him has a great chance to overtake, but will he have enough pace? Because everybody else, I'm guessing, is on the mediums, except for Schumacher. Doohan, the only car on, besides Schumacher, on an alternate strategy. I'm going to go hard, medium, medium. For Pourchaire, I'm planning medium, hard, medium. Plenty of cars are going to go medium, medium, hard. We'll see who, after the first pit stops, really. Oh, that's not good. Oh, and Doohan with a lockup. Doohan runs really wide there and then has to wait to rejoin till he's got some clean air and a gap between the cars, and he's down to 15th. Well, there goes his chances with catching his teammate. And we have a big crash, and Doohan's going to almost drive straight into it. Oh my goodness. He does rejoin. Now in P13, Sainz right ahead of him is got a penalty, and VSC. But that created a big ol' spread. Bottas 6 seconds. Ocon is 7 seconds back. So these guys went from a little behind to way behind by the time this crash sorted itself out. Field really spread now. Schumacher, Albon, Sainz, all pitting. Schumacher, you think it's going to be down to scenario based? He was on those softs. He was going to be pitting sooner. So for him, that's using the VSC to save some time on his stop. So we now sit P6 and P12. Pourchaire and a train of 9 cars all still locked up together. And they are right there with one another. It's him and Stroll. He's now caught up to Ocon. He was a ways back of Ocon, but has covered that ground off now and gone around with DRS. So now leading a train of 3. Oh, now Pourchaire has locked up in the same spot as his teammate. These guys are having a great day, aren't they? Glad we've locked up the championship, because we're showing up to Sao Paulo and locking up here, there, everywhere. Pourchaire closing back up on Leclerc. It was Leclerc who we were just ahead of, so we haven't really gone back that far. Certainly not as far as Doohan. Doohan, of course, went back and then had the crash in front. So that offset, and a bunch of cars into the pits. That part's not good. The 2 Red Bulls are the only ones who have stayed out a little bit longer. Pit stop, 2.447, and then we sit. Off. And that's going to take some work. That is going to take some work. Russell into the pits. Verstappen already has pit. Doohan is now P2 with Ricciardo a second and a half behind, but Verstappen's just behind him. So Doohan might be in a virtual. We'd love to see somebody crash now so we can pit under. Oh, that's Russell in the pits. I saw Red Bull in an odd position on the mini-map here. Yeah, see, now we're 3.2 behind. But Doohan can theoretically hold traffic up a little bit, maybe, and give Pourchaire a chance to close back in. And Verstappen already pulling away from Doohan here. 1.2 away. So now we're giving him even greater grounds while we hold up everybody else instead. But we don't need to win the race. It's fine. Today we clearly do not have the pace necessary. And we do not have the brains necessary, as Ricciardo has overtaken Doohan. So he's down to third and already over a second behind. He gets overtaken and immediately loses significant ground. And now Gasly gets by. These hards at 48% just do not have the pace necessary. But that's why you don't want to be on him for long. And Doohan, getting it out of the way, he'll be faster the rest of the race. Yeah, Doohan's already 6-7 seconds behind Pourchaire, slowly closing back up on Leclerc. At least Doohan's gonna pit in clean air and not lose that extra couple seconds. But of course, that crash that happened ahead of us cost us a good 12-13 seconds. Less than a second behind, so we will ride the Ocon. And Sainz at a 5-second penalty, right? He pit right ahead of us. He had a 5-second penalty. Potentially had damage to, fix a wing. It didn't look like he had wing damage, so he might not have done anything additional. But that 5 seconds, he's still ahead of us. So that's a sign. That is an absolute sign. Pourchaire back ahead of Sainz and 1. All right, slowing it back down a little bit. It's lap 39. We're going pretty fast here. And yes, of course, Verstappen has extended his lead by a few more seconds. Now our train led by Russell. We've dropped a couple cars off the back of me. That's good. Zhou, Leclerc have lost ground. Bottas closed things up a little bit on those guys. Doohan got to the head of his train, so he's now worked his way up to 11th and is just 2.7 behind Giovinazzi, who, 7-8 seconds ahead not long ago. So pace is good. Guys are on the hard, he's on the mediums, he's faster. He's making up some ground here. He's easily made up. I mean, look how far back Sainz is, who he came out behind. So we'll go gap leader, 37 seconds ahead of him. So that's Doohan's showing good pace here. He's making progress and now has caught Giovinazzi and is already actively trying to overtake him. And has succeeded. Down to 64% though. It's not going to last much longer here before the pace is going to go away. But again, if you've made up 8 seconds already, that's a good sign. We're back into the points. That's a good sign. But everybody has one more pit stop to go. But some are going to be on the hards for their final stint. Some are on the hards right now. Both of our guys are going to be on the mediums and at their best. If you're 7-8 seconds better in one stint than another, that's a good thing. Speaking of, let's see who's picked up the Pourchaire or Doohan mentality of get the hards out of the way earlier. Ricciardo, Pourchaire, Doohan, of course, even though he's on the mediums now. And then this back group who are way off the pace. They're not handling it well. These guys are going to be slower. We still have a chance in this race. P6, P10, and here we go. Medium guys are pitting. Medium guys are pitting now, and they're going to be coming out on the hards. And they're not going to have... We're looking at potentially 8 to 10 seconds better on the final stint. Pourchaire challenging Ricciardo for the current race lead with DRS. Definitely has an advantage. Doohan entering his pit window and Pourchaire as well. But I might not risk the double stack. There's 15 seconds. There's 15 seconds between them. We have no concerns about double stacking. We can honestly double stack no problem. Verstappen has already caught up. What the... Jeez, he's flying. He's on the hards, though. I mean, we are going to have better pace, but Verstappen's going to win this race. Verstappen is going to win this race. I mean, this is Porsche he's caught up to. Porsche does not have the spare fuel to be pushing on his in-lap, so we're just going to head off into the pits. Settled as well as he comes out with that same traffic. Latifi locks up right after he came out of the pits. Ouch on that part. He had just pit and he locks up. Okay. P7, P11. P7, P11. 22 seconds and 33 seconds down. However, the podium, 20 seconds. So Porsche just 2 seconds behind that. He can absolutely challenge for a podium. There goes Norris into the pits and Schumacher into the pits. Doohan now has clean air. 11 seconds, though, to catch up to Leclerc.
Big crash.
Big crash. Big crash. I don't see anything happening here, so everybody seems to be moving. Oh, it's Verstappen!
Now here we see Max Verstappen.
From miles ahead of everyone, he locks up and he's going to go hard into the wall. That's going to require a wing change. It looks like he is able to continue on, but Verstappen could be costing himself the race win here. He does peel off into the pits. Wow, he's absolutely bottled it from a billion miles ahead. Wing change, off he goes. Verstappen.
Doing very good.
Down the order. Down the order, still down the order. Still ahead of Doohan. He's going to slot into that gap, looks like. But Verstappen all the way down to P9 from a you have no chance of losing this race position. But here is Porsche, and the race is on for P2. Russell is over 8 seconds ahead now. Magnussen, Zhou, Gasly are absolutely beatable. Are they all on the hards? They are. They are. So we're in the best position here. Doohan is in a good position, probably just to finish P10, really, because catching those guys, he's got too much of a gap. But in Porsche's case, overtakes, quite possible. Balanced on the fuel. We don't have much to spare. Well, we don't have any to spare. And we don't have much tire to spare. We lap a Ferrari. That's Perez in 19th. Wow. How does he get down there? And back to neutral. Okay, Porsche now comfortably P2. And just 8.5 seconds behind Russell. We'll get on with the chase. Meanwhile, Doohan now P9. Somebody, something. Magnussen down to P10. He was up there. Not sure what he did. Was he the lockup, that last lockup? I was busy with Porsche trying to make our way forward.
Sounds like we've had a spin.
Gasly with a spin. And now he's behind us. We're up to P8. We have some spare fuel. We have decent tires. We definitely have some battery to use as well. And Porsche is now 3.5 seconds ahead of Zhou, so he's not pulling those guys around, dragging them forward. Verstappen has caught the back of that group. But you've got to train from P3 to P7 and Doohan making progress. I mean, we were 12 seconds behind, now 7.5, but also just 11 laps to go. All right, so we've sped up to lap 65. Got about half a dozen laps to go. Porsche, the gap to Russell is holding, and then we're pulling away from the guys behind. They're now 6.5 seconds and counting, growing. So Porsche is comfortable for P2. Not going to challenge Russell. Not going to be challenged by anybody else. Verstappen either just had another mistake or just pit again. Doohan's up to P7. Also, Doohan, that's the one we're keeping an eye on that I was coming back for here. Gap's down to 4.7 seconds, and Gasly's out to 6.2. Giovinazzi with a spin. So Verstappen pit a second time. The softs didn't make it to the end or something. Anyway, gap 3.7. He's got a chance to catch those front four. We've got some fuel to be able to push. They're all on the hards, but we're on the mediums. We're also down to 54%. So the pace advantage we have to catch them, once we get there, we're not going to have that pace advantage anymore. But we will have some battery, we will have some fuel, and we might make some progress. Getting all the way up to P3, though, I don't know if we're going to have that. We might not even get better than P7. And inside 3 seconds, but we're going to have to start pushing now if we're going to catch those guys. Yeah, doing not looking likely. Not looking likely. Fuel now good for Porsche. We lost a second to Russell in doing so. Doohan has cut it back down by another second, just 2 seconds behind now. And we have closed these guys up. Doohan has made it to the back as we begin the final lap of the race.
That's your last lap, mate. Last lap.
Immediately is challenging the Ferrari.
Let's close this gap.
Of Leclerc and has gotten around. P6. Deploy. Last lap. Right on board.
Deploy.
Let's take a look at the replay.
Do it!
Williams here.
Big ol' lockup on the last lap. Are you even going to get... Are you going to keep your position? He's recovered his position. Let's look away from that POS. And watch Porsche. Russell takes the win. Porsche gets P2. Do it. Had the progress was there, the recovery was there, the drive, the performance. He decided he was ready to bottle it. Happened. Beat 10 from a billion miles ahead of everybody else.
We're at Yas Island in Abu Dhabi for the Formula One Grand Prix. The Yas Marina circuit was completed in 2009, and we've seen a fair share of celebration and commiseration over the years since then. The scenery may be spectacular, but this weekend, all eyes will be on the track. There's a reason why the Yas Marina circuit is used as a test track. The long straights put engine power through its paces, while the twists and bends make medium speed downforce just as important at this challenging circuit. There's a very overcast night in store for the drivers, who are now lined up on the grid. Here's Williams. With their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. And looking at the second Williams car, they're starting in the bottom half of the grid today, so there's a lot of cars between them and the podium. The race start is mere seconds away. Hold on tight, it's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And we've reached the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi for this one. And here's the circumstances. We're going to settle in almost immediately here. Porsche, P15. Woo! That's ugly. Do it. Fighting for P12. We did not qualify well at all. There's still teams taking penalties here, but we didn't. We didn't bother. Opponents are okay for the race. They're not bad, but clearly other cars, other teams have put more into things than we have. And here we are, P12, P15. We're going to speed things up. Here's the race situation, other than we are clearly off the pace and might be struggling to get in the points today at all. We had a rear wing upgrade research project wise, and so we got our next one going. But as for last year, this was a pivotal race for us last year, a really pivotal race. We won the Constructors and lost the Drivers' Championship all in that race, and Pourchaire just spun, and he's down to last place. Doohan's recovery drive to P4 was nothing short of a miracle. Verstappen finished P2, picked up enough points, took the Drivers' Championship away from Pourchaire. Doohan recovering to P4, beating Leclerc. Leclerc falling to P6 right at the end was enough for us to take the Constructors away from Ferrari. Verstappen wins the Drivers. Two teams end up finishing ahead of Red Bull. That's just how wild that season was. Doohan has a chance to take the Drivers' Championship away from Pourchaire today. We have won the Constructors. We are comfortable. We are winning the Drivers. Doohan still has a chance to take it from Pourchaire today. But here's that scenario. 48-point gap. Double points for the final race today. A win, 50 points. Fastest lap, Doohan has it right now. That's worth a point as well. Doohan must win the race. Anything other than a win, he will not take that Drivers' Championship. Pourchaire, if Doohan does win, needs to finish 9th or better. Those on the softs are already committed to a two-stopper, guaranteed. Got a crash out on track. We have a crash. Safety car is coming out. Safety car is coming out. We will not benefit from this safety car though, except for the overall grand strategy of we are going to conserve. Most of the cars are going to go for the two-stopper. I am going to go for the track position and the longevity. Let's hope that nobody pits right now. We'll see. Leclerc does. Bottas does. 2 cars have opted to pit. But that also means these guys are going to be committing to a two-stopper. Leclerc was on the softs. Bottas was also on the softs. Ricardo didn't even bother to pit. Those guys are already guaranteed committed to the two-stopper. For everybody else, just bunches the field back up, which is good for us. And because we're going one stopper, those guys are all going to pit and come out behind us. We're going to have track position. What we're going to struggle with at some stage is pace. We now find ourselves in P11, P17 as we restart the race with the field nice and bunched up. And again, we're still the only ones that are in our scenario. We now have Leclerc and Bottas on hards that are not going to go the distance. They will pit again. Pourchaire, for now, making some progress up to P15. Red flag. We have a red flag scenario with an Aston Martin having just crashed out of the race.
Let's take a closer look. So this was the Aston Martin.
And this now changes everything. This changes our race strategy for sure.
That was we go.
And we're racing once again, and yes, everyone is on the hards besides us. And then Leclerc and Bottas also opting for the mediums. How Doohan was slow off the line, I don't know. Doesn't make much sense. We have a ton of spare fuel now. And we're going to use that to try to go forward and not the tires. We're going to use that fuel for a while and see how much progress we can make from P11, P13. Fuel only, engine up,
And a new
nothing.
position
There's nothing left
just
to
gained
save
by Williams.
the engine for, as it's the final race of the year. So can we make some progress with the engine turned up and the fact that we're on mediums and everybody else around us is on hards? I'm not turning it up though because we have to stretch.
That was a stonking lap.
Fastest lap for doing. He's P10. Porsche is P12. Hard thing here is everybody else is extending as well. Not so much Ricardo into the pits. There you go. We're only pitting maybe a lap earlier than some of these guys. A lot of these guys. Just going to give us a chance to have similar pace to them towards the end of the race. And pitting right now gives us a chance to be a little bit faster
I think we've had a
for the next
car
couple
run
of laps
wide.
and make progress. Ocon runs wide. Just cannot push that at all. This tire wear here is pretty heavy. Porsche comes out behind doing. That's how slow. That's how off the pace was on that lap. One lap and Porsche goes from over a second ahead to over a second behind. You can see how quickly we've closed down our teammate though. Porsche's ahead now, so he's going to push. I didn't see the overtake, but there you go. So now it's Porsche leading the way. And just 5.3, we've gained another 7/10. Down to 5. 3 seconds gained. Doing. Back on top. Swap it back. Too soon and too hard. Took himself out. Do it now. 1.8 behind. Continuing to gain ground. Gap. These guys are going to be well behind us by the time they pit. These guys will be behind us, but we'll have much better tires and we'll gain ground. But we're down to 13 laps. These two look like they will probably be behind us. Verstappen and Russell. But they're going to be much faster. Can we get up to P3 and P4 in this race? I think that would be just about the ideal scenario and about all we can manage. 8/10 behind. Close that up before you ease off again.
And a new position just gained
So we've
by
passed these
Williams.
guys on track before they even bother to pit. There we go. Gap closed. Are they going to pit? Jeez. Yeah. Oh, they'll definitely pit. They're going to be below 30% soon. Lap 49 already, though, folks. We are very close to the end of the season here. P8, P9. Ricardo's next. He's at 71%. He put on mediums the same time we did. Or did he? No. I don't know when he pit comparatively to us. Maybe a lap later. Maybe the same time as Porsche. He did pit. He pit the exact same lap as Porsche, right? Turn that engine up. We have caught the guys ahead and 3 cars pit, and look how far behind they are. We have caught Gasly. We have caught Gasly and already starting to challenge Gasly. Doohan will go... No. Doohan backs off. Let's ride with Doohan for the time being. As we challenge Gasly for P4. For P4? Are you kidding me? Did not see that coming the way this race was going, but these guys are pitting too late. They should have pit a while ago. Verstappen pits. Gasly pits. Gets out of our way. Do we get DR? No, that's not a DRS spot. It's a very short straight. P3, P4 now. 2.5 seconds behind Ricciardo. Ocon is 4.5 seconds behind. Verstappen is behind that. Ocon has yet to pit. Russell has yet to pit. Ricciardo is like us, probably going the distance. We've just slowly been closing him down. So are we heading for P2, P3? Doohan still has a chance to win the race. Pourchaire still has a chance to make a big mistake. This isn't over yet, folks, but Verstappen, that's the one fast coming from behind. He is 7 seconds behind us. I think we'll keep an eye on this one, the leader, the rating from here on out. But that is Ricciardo, still in it. Russell trying to hang on. Ocon trying to hang on. And Verstappen trying to chase. Doohan pit 1 lap earlier than Pourchaire. 5% worse on the tire wear. He's not quite as good on conserving tires. Plus, he pit a lap earlier. He's lighter. And still able to push at 0.9. Possibly all the way to the end. He's got less battery. Pourchaire's in a better state. Russell is pitting. Russell is pitting. We're going to be into the podium. Both cars into the podium. And now just 1 second behind Ricciardo. Verstappen is coming, though. 5.5 seconds behind us. Whoa, this is getting interesting. This is getting interesting. We've caught Ricciardo. We got Ricciardo over a second away. Oh, he gets DRS anyway. Are you kidding me? He was well over a second when he went across that DRS detection zone. Come on. And he gets it again because he closed up 1/10 of a second as a result. 9/10. Over a second behind. Over a second behind. He's not going to get it this time. Final lap of the season, and to claim his first Drivers' Championship, and of course to lift that Constructors as well, even though we've already wrapped that up. But Doohan still has that tiniest chance. If Pourchaire crashes here on the final lap, Doohan will be the Drivers' Champion. And he's caught his teammate. Overtake is on. We're going to go for it. Oh, battery empty. How did Pourchaire get battery empty and Doohan not? Pourchaire had half a battery to go and wasn't using it. Doohan was down to nothing. Here we go. Final turn. And Pourchaire wins. Pourchaire wins. They've taken it away from Ricciardo, and Verstappen didn't catch back up. They waited too long to pit. They waited too long. Got to pit at the right time to make use of the tires, and they did not see a 1-2 finish coming in that final race the way things were shaping up, especially after Pourchaire's mistake. And after Pourchaire's mistake, he wins the race. Poor qualifying, poor positioning. That safety car came at just about the right time for us to change our strategy and give us a shot, close up the gap, close up the field. And with the... everybody had one more pit stop. But with us pitting when we did and being on the mediums, we gained ground. And the track position worked out for us in the end on everybody else's pit. And we get a 1-2 finish to wrap up the season. And there is your confirmation with 419 points. Pourchaire is your Drivers' Champion. Doohan finishes P2 with Verstappen and Russell in the Constructors. 776 points to wrap up the season. 441 for Red Bull. Alpine at 263. McLaren, Ferrari finish out the top 5. Alfa Romeo kept charging hard at the end of the season, and they go from, I think it was P8 up to P6 at the end of the year. Mercedes dropping to P7. Huge gap to AlphaTauri with 83 in P8. Aston Martin finished P9 on 24 points, and Haas finished the season with 19. They had a fastest lap one time. Aston Martin never managed to do any of that, but they finished every race. AlphaTauri, 2 fastest laps. Mercedes, 3 podiums and 2 fastest laps. Alfa Romeo had 2 podiums, 4 fastest laps, and 2 pole positions. They were at the end of the season, but just couldn't turn it into more. Ferrari did pick up 1 race win this year with 3 podiums, a fastest lap, and 2 pole positions. Every team has managed to finish every race thus far. 5 podiums, 2 fastest laps. Alpine, a win, 7 podiums, a fastest lap, and a pole position. Red Bull got 4 wins this year, 13 podiums, 3 fastest laps, and 9 pole positions. We only managed 8 pole positions and just 6 fastest laps, but 20 podiums in 20 races, 16 wins in 22 races, and every single team managed to have at least 1 car finish the race. That is going to do it for this episode and this season. Of course, I still have a little over a month for car development, but most of those projects are already set and going. I think I'm going to get 1 more project squeezed in time frame wise. That's going to be it. And then we enter the new year and the new regulations, which I'm excited for. I'm a Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.